It's finally time for a new tier list for the Blaziken release and of course the latest balance patch. I'm still a bit sick, but I finally made it out of bed to maybe record a few videos. And I think a tier list is probably the one that most people want to see the most. As always, I'm going to start with a top and bot path tier list. And then afterwards we also do a center area tier list, because mixing every Pokemon up in the same tier list doesn't make a lot of sense. It's better to have them both mixed up by top, bot path, and then by center area as well. So let's go ahead. Delphox, our first Pokemon right here, putting into an A tier. I think it's quite fine. It can, of course, sometimes struggle a bit in early game when it comes to laning, but doesn't matter what, it's a very strong Pokemon and one of the better attackers you can play right now. Absol, it's sad how bad this Pokemon is right now. I cannot recommend it to be played anywhere. It just has to go straight into D tier. I just can't. I'm very sad about it, because Absol is one of my favorite Pokemon, but it's absolutely awful. Cinderace as well. It's already struggles in center area, so picking it on top of bot path is even much worse. Please don't do it. Zacian is still easily S tier, especially after they fixed this bug. Even with the bug, I feel like he was still A+ or S tier, but now that the bug got fixed, it's already back to S tier again. Then we have a Garchomp, which is actually quite fine. I would say Garchomp is one of those weird Pokemon where only if you play them still right now, but Garchomp, after the last buffs, is actually quite decently powerful. Lucario is just a very fine pick you can always do. It does good damage with Power Punch, Close Combat, Unite move, has good secure, good laning phase. It will just always do something. Crusse might be surprised, but yeah, Crusse deserves A tier. Crusse is very good right now. One of the better Pokemon after the latest buffs, and something I can for sure recommend you play. Greninja, absolutely terrible, cannot recommend. Charizard is pretty bad in path as well. There's going to be a difference on why I put certain to C over D tier. Like, D tier is just completely unplayable. I would not recommend. C tier is also pretty bad, but it has certain ways of getting into the game, right? So if you are getting back into the game, if you're Charizard, you get to level 9, you can always Unite move someone and get comeback experience, right? That's what matters. That's why someone like Gengar, I would also rather put into C tier, because Gengar is another Pokemon that can just get comeback experience much easier than others. So as soon as you get to level 9, you can just hunt someone down, then me center area Pokemon, do a lot of damage, but it's still not great either. Like C to D I wouldn't play, in C I would also really just only play if you really want to, for some reason, pretty much. Eldegoss, easily A+, I would say. Very strong healer still right now. Blastoise goes next to Crusse. Just a very solid defender. You can play either the tank, Surf Hydro Pump, or Water Spout Rapid Spin, and you're gonna have a lot of success. Also, Blastoise doesn't really rely on healing, right? The curse item is there now, and the curse item also affects this tier list a tiny bit, and Blastoise doesn't really care about healing much, personally, so it's one of those defender. Crustle as well, who doesn't really have a sustain, so they're less hurt by the curse item. Pikachu, I'm gonna put back into A tier. I think Thunderbolt's actually quite powerful, and has a lot of value. Clefable goes into A+ tier, just another solid healer. The only reason why these healers might have a low win rate right now is because Blissey, of course, is very OP with Mewtwo Y, so that kind of makes all win rates a tiny bit messed up. Ninetales has dropped a bit after the last nerfs, but I would say it's still A tier. I saw the win rate of this Pokemon is also very bad right now, but I just don't think Ninetales is that bad of a Pokemon like the win rate shows. Win rate's always weird to talk about, of course. I think Wigglytuff is just alright. It's a Pokemon you can pick. Like, B is always like, you can play these Pokemon. Don't expect too much, but they're totally fine to play. That's pretty much what the B tier is for me. Slowbro, I'm not sure if S tier, but easily A+ tier right now, still as well. Then we have, I guess I can put Mewtwo Y already in God tier, together with Blissey. So, okay, Blissey I guess goes into S tier. But yeah, or maybe Blissey goes into God tier, but Blissey's only God tier because of Mewtwo Y. If Mewtwo Y wasn't God tier, Blissey would still be somewhere here though. So Blissey doesn't matter what, it's a very strong Pokemon. But I guess, it actually has a higher win rate than Mewtwo Y sometimes. Just because if you have Blissey and they're downed, then you have a huge advantage with Mewtwo Y. So it's a bit scuffed, but I'm going to only keep this up here. I'm going to put Blissey into S tier. Then we have let's go for the two Ushifus. So I think Surging Strikes in lane, it's quite difficult to play. It's really just a center area Pokemon, and it can work though, of course, right? Like if you know XP share support, otherwise I wouldn't recommend it. But it's still one of those Pokemon that is just very strong, doesn't matter what. And Wicked Blow, I would say, is a bit worse though right now. I'm gonna put it into B tier. Lapras is still one of the most broken Pokemon in the entire game. Easily S tier. I don't think that's big of a debate. Dragonite, I really don't like having lane Dragonites in my games. I really just don't. Again, I'm ordering them by attacker, all-rounder, speedster, support and defender. Just they're not ordered by power, they're just ordered by role. So it's a bit easier to look at the tier list and realize, you know, which role is where. But Champage is solid, goes into A, just a very normal Pokemon you can pick, and it always does its job quite well. Talonflame, nothing too crazy right now, I would say. But maybe deserves B tier, honestly. Maybe. Maybe B tier. Dodrio is one of the better speedsters still right now. Still mainly only played by people who are actually very good at it. But I think it easily deserves A tier, for sure. Snorlax, B tier, nothing crazy, but nothing too bad either. It's just a Pokemon you can play. Mr. Mime. I think Mr. Mime is actually not too bad, but I don't think I want to put it higher than, you know, B tier still. But it could be also A tier. It's either between A or B tier. But I don't want to make another B plus tier. Like, I already have too many tiers, right? I think that's... I just don't want to make a million. Again, Pokemon in B tier you can easily play and have success on. Zoroark, I feel like, has dropped. Just because it's very difficult into Mewtwo to play. But I don't want to put it too low either. Its win rate is terrible, right? But I feel like the win rate is always sometimes, especially on difficult Pokemon like Zoroark, it's something you can't really look at, right? As soon as you play against a skilled Zoroark, he's going to take over the game and destroy everything, so... Cramorant has fallen off a lot. I think that's because it's bugged, so I wouldn't recommend playing it right now, but still better than the Pokemon down here. Tyranitar. It has late game win conditions, which is why I put it into C instead of D tier, but I'm still not too amazed by it. Inteleon easily goes into S tier. The second strongest attack in the entire game, I would say, right after Mewtwo Y. It can lane, it can jungle. You have two different builds, Snipe Shot, Liquidation, both are very good. So, I'm a fan. Zaora, I actually think Zaora is not too bad, especially for Path as well. I'm gonna put into B tier. Nothing too amazing either, of course, but for sure playable, I would say. Chandelure is alright. It got a buff with the curse item. But then again, like, how often are the anti-healing items really that powerful? Not always, right? It's rare scenarios sometimes where it even does something. And besides that, it still lacks a bit of something right now. Espeon has fallen off as well a bit, but I think it's still quite decent and should not be underestimated. For sure, A tier. Leafeon also has a terrible win rate, but, like, I don't know, this Pokemon is insane to me. I want to put it into A plus tier. Might be a bit of bias. Of course it's biased, right? It's my own tier list. My tier list is biased. It's one of my favorite Pokemon. I have a lot of success with it, and I think it's quite decent. Mamoswine goes into B. It's just alright. Same for Greedent. They're alright Pokemon. But, like, you can see Defender role is pretty decent, right? Like, Lapras is there, Slowbro, Crustle, Blastoise are decent, Snorlax is playable. Like, Defenders are doing pretty good right now, actually. There's only one Defender which is kind of sad right now, which is Goodra. Goodra lost a lot of value because of the Curse item. That's a Pokemon that for sure suffers, though, from the Curse item. And now, last tier list, so I had Goodra up here, and now I feel like I have to put it pretty far down again. Maybe C tier is a bit too harsh, though. But man, the Unite move gets shut down pretty harsh by the anti-healing. But besides that, I do think, you know, you can just go Muddy Water maybe and still be fine anyways. So I think B tier is probably more deserving. Decidueye, into C tier. It's a Pokemon that can work in Path, but you need a lot of luck for it. You need the Ascento area to gank your lane, you need to have an XP share support. But as soon as it hits level 7, it can get a lot of work done. Serena, after the buffs, I don't know if I could put it back into A tier for now. I think it's still B tier. But it's playable again. Again, B tier is playable. And that's just what matters. Like, you can play the Pokemon in B and still have success. It's just that there's some are just a bit more OP and can ruin your game experience, right? Trevenant is pretty decent, I would say, as well. Also, struggles from the curse item, though, of course. But Trevenant, I think, to me, still seems like a very strong defender, doesn't matter what. Aegislash, also, after the buffs, it just needs a tiny bit more. Like, Aegislash and Sweeter just needs a tiny bit more, and they would easily be A tier again. But I think, again, B tier is totally fair, and they for sure get their work done. And I love playing both of them right now. Aegislash and Serena are both very fun, and it's for sure something I can recommend you play. Sylveon is alright. Nothing too crazy right now. You can play it. It's pretty much it. Gardevoir and Path is also alright. I do like it. But yeah. I mean, it's just a decent Pokemon, right? You can play Future Sight, Psyshock, Psychic, Moonblast, pretty much every move combination, and have a lot of success on. Early Power Spike on level 5. But I think B tier is totally fair right now. Glaceon has fallen off a lot, but I think the win rates don't really justify how you know? I think Pokemon is much better than win rate shows. Again, I feel like the win rates are just so scuffed because of Mewtwo Y, you can't take them too serious, right? As soon as Mewtwo Y gets nerfed, which I hope is soon, we're gonna really see how the win rates are going to change up, and then I feel like everything is gonna go back to normal. Mewtwo X is still S tier, even though it's also one of the lowest win rate Pokemon, but it's just Mewtwo Y. If Mewtwo Y didn't exist, then this probably would still be God tier. Like, it's such a bad joke, honestly. I don't know, man. Hooper, easily, I mean, is it still S tier? I'm gonna put it to A+ tier just because Blissey is just, yeah, I think A+ is totally fair as well. Azumarill goes into A for me. One of very, very strong all-rounder. You can always have a lot of success on. Buzzwole is probably A as well, honestly. It's probably, I don't know, it's A or B. I think it goes into the triple stack right here. I think it fits quite well into these Pokemon. Mew might be surprising. I don't like playing Mew in solo queue, but it's still a very strong Pokemon, especially if you're practiced on Mew. You're gonna have a lot of success, and Mew is still one of the top attacker in the entire game. Scyther, can't recommend it too much right now. Scizor feels also terrible, but I think stay better than the Pokemon down, like at the bottom there. When it comes to playing in Path, Duraludon is alright, goes into B again. Duraludon is the one basic attack Pokemon you can play in Path and be totally fine on. Sableye is actually quite decent right now, I would say. Sadly, because of the curse item as well. The curse item is just is absolutely insane for Sableye, and makes it for sure much, much stronger. Dragapult is absolutely awful right now, don't play this Pokemon. Venusaur, I think, is quite decent. Solar Beam is very, very strong. Also, you have a lot of range, which you can one-shot Mewtwo Y with, so Venusaur, I'm a big fan. Comfey. So Comfey is like, I don't know, I guess it's in the playable category. Like, Comfey only works if you have a Comfey target, otherwise it's useless. Pretty much. And I hate playing with this Pokemon. I hate having it in my team. Umbreon goes easily into A+ here, next to Slowbro. And still very strong, has 2 builds. Mean is strong, Foul Play is strong. And we can head towards the last Pokemon, Blaziken. And I want to put it into A tier, but I think I'm putting it into B tier for now. I think it needs a bit of time. I do think it has a lot of potential, and I do like Blaziken a lot. Is it enough for A tier? It has the lowest win rate, but again, win rates we don't look at. It's a very difficult Pokemon to learn, and I had a lot of success with it. So honestly, if I can put Azumarill, Machamp here, and Lucario, I feel like I can put Blaziken here as well. I'm a big fan. It has very good laning. It has very good last hitting for objectives as well. And I think the more people practice it, you know, the more powerful Blaziken will be. Time will tell. It's somewhere between A and B. It's still hard to judge. I'm watching other Blaziken players have good success as well. So that's also what I base it out on. And as soon as Mewtwo Y is hopefully a bit gone, yeah, it's gonna look much, much different. But that's it for the Path tier list. Again, let me know in the comments if you disagree or agree with certain placements. And then we head towards the Central Area tier list. Heading into the Central Area tier list, I'm going to start with Venusaur, I guess, since it's just up here. I think it's a quite decent Central Area Pokemon. Can go Giga Drain, Peladance, or Giga Drain, Solar Beam, and have a lot of success. Inteleon, easily S tier as well. Strong Path Pokemon, strong Central Area Pokemon as well. Can pretty much do anything. Gengar just doesn't feel good right now, but I think B tier is totally fair for it. Gardevoir, I think, is a solid A tier Central Area Pokemon as well. Shouldn't be underestimated. I think it's a bit better than a Path and Central Area for sure, but I mean, almost anything is better in Central Area just because you get more experience there, right? That's kind of how it goes. Absol, putting it from D into C, because I think Pursuit can snowball games, but you have to get lucky, and it's nothing that always happens. Garchomp is actually quite underrated Central Area Pokemon, one of my favorites as well to play. I do like it a lot. Gonna put into the A tier. Lucario, please don't Central Area with this Pokemon. Greninja, I mean, they just feel so bad right now. They just have no chance, right? You have to be so on point to play Greninja. You have to do no mistake. If you do one mistake, the game is over. So much point and click to deal with. It just feels so bad to play those Pokemon right now. For sure. Talonflame goes into B tier. Zaora also goes into B tier. I'm gonna rush a bit through this tier list of the Central Area because I have to go back to bed and keep resting, so that hopefully I'm fit soon again. Charizard, I think Charizard is actually quite fine. It's also not too bad into Mewtwo Y. If you get it, if you get Mewtwo Y in its Unite move, quite decent. Cinderace just feels awful to play. One Liquidation, one Future Sight, and you're dead. And those, Put Mewtwo Y also up here already again. If you get hit by those, like, you're just dead. There's nothing you can do about. Lapras one-shots you. It is so difficult to deal with for any of these Pokemon. Cram also again is probably bugged, so nothing I would recommend playing right now. Pikachu Central Area, please don't do it. Can't recommend. Ninetales as well right now after the nerfs. So in general, I would not recommend putting into the Central Area. Sylveon as well has lost a lot of value in Central Area. But it can still work, of course. Decidueye, I think, is still A tier to me, just because it has a lot of range and is able to outrange the top 2 Pokemon. So it's quite decent. Next up, we have Machamp in Central Area is alright, but nothing I would necessarily recommend either. But it's for sure okay to play, but yeah, it's okay. Dragonite. I think Outrage Dragonite, Hyper Beam Dragonite is actually quite decent, personally. Can for sure be somewhere in A tier. Serena goes into the B tier. You get level 6 quite early in Central Area, so you have more potential of, getting very far ahead. Aegislash, not a fan. Of course, you get level 7 fast, but it's not really a carry Pokemon. So, I don't know. Having Central Area Aegislash is alright, but also nothing I would necessarily recommend all too much. Next up, we have Duraludon, which is also still quite fine to play. Pretty average, but quite decent. Urshifu goes into the... I don't know if Urshifu is S+, or A+, or S tier. I'm really not sure. I think probably A+. I don't know. No, it's probably still S, right? It's difficult. Very difficult. I'm not sure if it... yeah. We'll see. We'll see how I'm going to fill this out. I might even move the A+ tier list, honestly. Next up, we have Azumarill, which I would not recommend, but still in the bottom ones. Espeon is quite alright in Central Area if you go for Stored Power and Psybeam. Gonna put it into at least a solid B tier. Delphox is decent. Only problem as well, point and click damage makes Delphox's life very difficult. Glaceon has fallen off a decent amount. It just gets outranged. Like, the problem with all these Pokemon is they just get outranged by these two. Way too much, right? It's so difficult to be up against. Mew Central Area, I mean, it's alright, but nothing I would necessarily recommend right now. I think Dodrio is probably A+. I found my A+ Pokemon for this. Probably Dodrio. I think that's fair. And maybe even the second Urshifu. I think Big Blow Urshifu is probably A+ tier. And of course we don't see it too much anymore because Surging Strikes is better. But besides that, it's still quite decent. Scizor Central Area is absolutely awful. Please don't do it. Scyther is just not really it right now either. Rather have these other Pokemon than Scyther. Actually, never mind. I think Scyther deserves B tier. I think I'm being a bit too harsh on it. Maybe because I suck at Scyther, I mean, my Scyther is not great, so probably B tier. Buzzwole. It's fine in Central Area, but nothing I would recommend. Tyranitar is alright. It just feels very dreadful to play because you need so much experience, but it's for sure playable, and you can for sure do it. Zoroark in Central Area. The problem is that, like, late game, I feel like it's very difficult to carry with it, but it's just such a OP level 5 Pokemon that I have to put it into A tier. Lapras, I mean, Lapras in theory is a very OP Central Area Pokemon, because it gets a lot of experience, it gets very strong. I wouldn't recommend playing it, but I'm just gonna put it here anyways, just cause, why not? I did say I like Goodra Central Area. It's one of my secret unexpected Central Area Pokemon, but of course it's nothing game-changing either right now. Zacian easily S tier, one of the best in the entire game. Chandelure goes also into B tier right here, into just like being playable. Leafeon, I think Leafeon goes into A tier as well. I prefer it in Path than in Central Area, because I feel like just being able to win a lane is just much easier. You get level 4, you have Solar Blade, and you get every single lasted, right? It's much better than putting it into Central Area. Utrex as well, still S tier. Without any doubt, Dragapult is just unplayable right now, but I don't think it's D tier either, but it is so difficult to play Dragapult, Like, again, point and click, one future sight, you're gone, one side strike, you're gone. It's not exciting, but it can for sure, like, work if you get the right team comps. And then we're almost at the end. Blastoise, Water Spout, Rapid Spin, can Central Area. It's playable. I wouldn't recommend these defenders, but I'm just putting it there. There's a bit of flavor, bit of spice into the tier list. But nothing you should take too serious. And Blaziken in Central Area, I'm not a big fan of. Wait, where's Blaziken? Blaziken in Central Area, I really just don't like. I think it has to path. It doesn't really have good late game carry potential. But yeah, I think BT is also fair for it now. Did I miss anyone? I don't think so. I hope you guys enjoyed this tier list. Maybe the Crus's hint area, you know, Crustle up here. I hope you guys enjoyed this tier list. And let me know in the comments as well about this hint area tier list, what you think. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!